everyone, Luke here, and now we're going to be talking about The Promised Neverland in this video, chapter 148. But before we do that, I want to talk about a couple of things that were missed out of the last chapter. Not necessarily because I missed them out. Well, yeah, I did miss them out, but also the website I was using to actually review the chapter last time, it left out a couple of panels that honestly makes me wonder if they were just being lazy on that point. So we're going to be talking about those before we actually get right into the chapter. So with that being said, let's go right to the title card. Alright, so this is the moment I'm going to talk about in chapter 147, which was entire Centuries of Grudges. I believe I called it something else in the last video, I can't really remember. But anyway, that's besides the point. I want to talk about this moment right after when Giron says Doza off to find Musica. Instead, Doza goes and tells the royal family a basic blatant lie, and it shows Giron, Gillion or Giron, however you want to pronounce his name, being tied up and being basically being like, if you've seen Rising of the Shield Hero, where Naofumi is at the end of sort of like chapter 1 or episode 1, depending on which way you watch it, how he's all tied up and he has guards pointing at his head with spears and swords and that, and it goes, Lord Gillen, you are hereby deemed guilty of high treason. You and your clan are sentenced to fall into the wilds. Obviously, referring to the fact that if they fall into the wilds, then they're obviously going to change their nature, and everything about them is going to change as well, and they're going to become more ferocious monsters than they can anticipate. And Giron is looking really shaken up by this and going, what is the meaning of this? And the guy and the judge goes, you have been found to plot the fall of the throne by using an Alberian bloodline to as Giron's like, it cannot be. He never would. As Doza goes on to say, yes, it was me. Obviously, Giron wasn't actually trying to do what Dawson actually imposed on them, but they were like, well, you're too kind for our nature, Dawson. So we have to get not Dawson, Gillen. So we have to get rid of you either way. Again, showing like just the backstabbing nature of the royal family, and how much of a threat they can be to their own kind as well. And the other point I want to talk about is another point. It's right before Dawson is actually killed by Giron. Let's get to it. This point right here, after Gillen kills Bayon and Noma's, he goes on to say, Bayon's boy and Noma's little daughter I see. And that's the point. Like, okay, so it was like, okay, so it was confirmed the genders of Lord Bayon and Lord Noma. So like they were female, they were male and female respectively. This point, it's this point right here. As Doza sees this display, he goes on to say, seems like our goody two shoes, dear Lord, had some guts to him after all. As he prepares to take fight against Gilon and his forces, he thinks to himself and goes, Bayon and Noma were gone in the blink of an eye. He's not the same Gilon I knew, that's for sure. It's this because them folks have only eaten fancy dandy humans for centuries. And that's actually an interesting point that he actually brings up here, the fact that the different diets that a creature can subsist on can actually make it more intelligent or less intelligent based on the genetics that can actually be molded over centuries, and the fact that they've been eating and the fact that they've been eating humans for centuries has made them be a little bit more aggressive and also a little bit more intelligent at the same time. So that's a pretty interesting comment that he actually brings up here. He goes on to say, but I'm not like them. I've spent the last 700 years strengthening my skills. Oh no! He's talking about the royal families. He's talking about the royal families, how they've been eating the fancy dancy humans for centuries. He might actually be talking about the No, he might actually be talking about Gideon when he says this, as he goes on to say, but I'm not like them. I've spent the last 700 years strengthening my skills as a warrior. I'm nothing like these stuck-up nobles who sit on their pillars all day. I won't underestimate you. I'm going in for... No, he's actually talking about the royals, how they've just been eating the humans without actually strengthening their skills in the last 700 years, so they kind of got a bit rusty, and that was how Gideon was able to take out Bayon and Noma in the blink of an eye, just like that. It was like, get on your bastard... Then they're dead, just like that, and he said, "I'm gonna go down before I got," and then it syncs up back to where I left off in the last chapter. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up, the fact that Dozer, despite not being as intelligent, actually had more observation, and he was like, "I'm not gonna underestimate you. I'm gonna go out before I got," but it made no difference as he was killed moments after. So I don't know why the chapters why the website I was using to review the chapter last week decided to just cut that bit out completely, but that's what I decided to talk about at the beginning of this review. But for now, let's just get on to chapter 148. Alright, so this is chapter 148, titled "We're Coming." Obviously a reference to the fact that that it could be the fact that Norman and his forces are coming to actually get them and actually kill them, or it could mean something else. We don't know, but let's just dive right into it. So we pick up with the beginning with the end of the last chapter, where we have the royal families just being slaughtered, like just a massacre of the royal families, and Giron getting his composure together as Ivok goes on to say, "Your Majesty, please stay back." And the Queen, we don't get any reaction from her. She's just kind of like sitting back, just watching this all take place. And I get the feeling that the Queen has a few little tricks up her sleeve, and she's not going to go down that easily as all the other royal families did. And I do believe. I believe that all the other royal nobles have actually just been taken out at this point as well. Except for Ivok and the Queen, obviously. All the others have been taken out just like by that with Giron, and it's only Ivok and the Queen herself now. As the caption reads, "The raging tempest of hatred accumulates the plan." Again, showing the fact that just this mountain of hatred just leads to even more hatred, and leads even to more killing and more mass slaughters, as we see Sasson and Barbara observing this whole situation, and Vincent getting a smile on his face and going, incredible how this whole plan is going perfectly, completely to their advantage. We get Vincent's thoughts or expressions as he goes on to say, "Their actions so far, the time it took, the difference in power, every little detail turned out exactly as the boss calculated." As we see Norman basically being a metaphor for Norman being like towering over the demons and being this manipulative chess master, and using them as like pawns in his game of chess in order to wipe them all out completely without any disregard for Emma and Ray and all the others, basically, who don't want to wipe out all the demons. They just want to wipe out some of the demons, so that it's not like a tyrannical dictatorship as it's been presented to us, but they don't want to wipe out an all intelligent species that have basically made this place their home for the last 1,000 years. But Norman's not having any of this, and he's just basically, they're just pawns in his little game of chess. As you see him moving, I believe it's supposed to be Giron actually moving in, like, okay, going over to the Queen's piece right now, and it's sort of like this giant metaphor for him as like just this manipulative chess master. Continuing on, Norman goes down to say, "Now move in, but don't attack them yet. The royal family is at a wholly different level." And this is in a flashback where he says this: "The royal family is at a wholly different level. Being strong, they can hunt the best meat, which made them even stronger and smarter too. After generations of this cycle, they become much more powerful than all others, and rose to rule them as royalty." Now, with that said, yes, they are powerful and they are way more intelligent, but Norman hasn't seen the kind of power that Gillen has, and the fact, and I feel like he should really be thinking about that, because the fact that only two of them remains, that kind of like would be a red flag for Norman. It's like, okay, so they took them out, and he doesn't know that they've been taken out just like in a blink of an eye, just like that, like, oh, blink and you miss it type thing. So maybe he's gonna have to be a bit more careful in how he's gonna approach this situation now that we know as the audience how powerful Galen actually is when he's at his peak, which he is right now. He's got his full power back. Full power back after losing it for 700 years, and it's going to be a case of seeing like what actually happens to Norman at this point. Norman goes on to say, let the Galen forces have their fun with Queen Lavely, the Queen, basically the Demon Queen. Let them exhaust one another, and they go on to say yes, very well. And Norman makes a declaration of will kill once they're actually exhausted each other. Now, it's not a bad plan, but again, he doesn't know the full weight of Galen's powers at this point, and how he's actually got his powers back. And for he could just wipe out Barbara, Cecil, and Vincent just like that, just like in the same way he wiped out Bayon, Noma, and Doza, just like in the blink of an eye, like that, before they even had a chance to fight back, basically. We get the title page as we see Emma and Ray disguised as demons, and the caption reads, to meet their dear friend. Obviously a reference to Norman and how they're trying to stop him from actually creating mass genocide in the same way that the demons created mass genocide for them, and actually to stop him from going basically over to the dark side, even though it's pretty much apparent at this point that Norman is on the dark side. But anyway, the caption, the title reads like, we're coming, and that's probably a reference to Emma and Ray actually going to actually find Norman and basically stop what he's actually doing. Not for the sense that they don't necessarily agree with the fact that yes, the demons are an issue, but the sense that they don't want to wipe out every one of them in the sense that Norman wants to wipe them out. And again, what I love about this is that we've had a clear role reversal of Ray and Norman, how if Norman was like how he was at the beginning, he wouldn't be going through the plans that he wanted to do. So again, it's interesting how we get that various levels of role reversal and character development that we've got from Ray and Norman. And anyway, we go back to a little bit earlier, just before like the explosion has actually happened, and everyone is in rejoice of the Taffery, how they're all celebrating their, basically like I've compared it to like celebrating their Christmas, like basically celebrating their Christmas celebration and or New Year's celebration, how they've got like just this festival out, and we see a lot of the little kids celebrating, and we see a lot of them like cheering with glasses of what I assume is blood, but it could just be regular wine or water. We don't know yet, because it is manga panel, so there's not really any colour, so I can't really tell if it's actual blood that they're actually drinking. It could just be wine or water or something like that. As we see Emma Ray dash off, they go, and as they go and hide, and Emma says the festival's already started, and Ray's like, yeah, the timing was much more strict than we thought, as Emma hopes that their friends hopes their friends are back, are on the way back, are safe. Obviously referring to Gillian and Oliver and Nigel and all of them that were on the horses, and how they dropped them off, and now they've headed back to the base. Headed back to the base at this point, which is kind of disappointing, because I really would have loved for them to actually stay, since they had a really big role in Goldie Pond, and they haven't really had that big of a role since Goldie Pond. They've just kind of been in the background here and there, and it would have been nice to actually see them actually focused on a little bit more in like this climax of the entire arc and the entire series, pretty much. But that's besides the point. Ray goes on to say, all we do now is believe in them, as Emma agrees with his observation, and they go on to say Norman must be at the heart of the ceremonial grounds inside the castle, as we get a shot from Emma and Ray's perspective of the fact that they're out in an alleyway, and the castle is like sort of like right off there in the distance, surrounded by all these buildings, and they would have to get through all these dangerous enemy territories in order just for a chance to get to the front gate. And even if they got to the front gate, they probably wouldn't have had a chance to actually get in, because there'll probably be guards at the door saying no regular folk in, it's only the royal family, or something like that. But anyway, continuing on, Emma Emma gets a look at the castle and she's like, we have to hurry, because if they're not hurrying up at this point in time, Norman is going to execute his plan, and then it will be pretty much all for naught if he actually goes through with exterminating all the demons. And this actually gets me worried that they might actually get caught up in the crossfire. Like, Norman might actually not see them as Emma and Ray, but he might actually just see them as demons, and that would be an interesting thing to actually put into perspective if Norman actually saw Emma and Ray as just the demons in those disguises and didn't have even an inkling that it was Emma and Ray under those disguises. As Emma continues to say, we have to hurry. He wants to kill the Queen to exterminate all nobles and their families. We have to stop him and explain the situation. We have to stop the attacks before it's too. As we get a big old explosion, and they're like, What's this?" And they're like, and they see just like an explosion from their perspective, like they're in the middle, they're like right on top of an explosion, like, so like say okay, they're like there and they're like looking at explosions, like, oh my god, what's that? And then it's like boom, right where they are, and they have to dodge to get out of the way. And Emma just looks in shock as she just sees smoldering rubble everywhere. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken correctly, let's have a look. Yeah. She actually there's like an explosion of like just this this festival like area where it had these stands and everything and these crates, and I believe that there's one demon that's just like absolutely been killed at this point. I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that is actually a demon right there that's just been lying on dead. I think it is actually dead at this point. Like, the impact of the explosion actually killed it, and that just gets Emma absolutely shocked. It's like, oh my god, Norman's gone ahead with the plan before we even had a chance to actually get to him. As we see like a younger demon actually just crying out in terror. It's like, because you think like that demon was just like not even out to kill humans at this point. He just wanted to celebrate basically their grand festival and everything, and then all of a sudden somebody just comes in and blows it up and just shatters that right in front of their faces. That's traumatic even though they're a demon, they're still a kid, and that is just so traumatic for them. Like, they just want to have some fun on this day, on this grand festival to their demon god, and to see it just go up in smoke. So that's something that I don't think any kid would want to see, regardless if they're a demon or a human. And so Ray and Emma are observing this. Ray just grits his teeth and is like, it's begun. We took too long. Norman has started his attack, and I love the reaction of Ray here, because it's like it shows again that despite how intelligent both Emma and Ray are, they're going up against Norman, who's not only one of the most intelligent Gracefield has, but also has been at Lymedy, so he's even more intelligent than them and able to outthink them more than they could have probably ever imagined. And it just shows that that they even have weak points that they still have to overcome in life if they want to get as stronger and actually surpass Norman in the end. So I love that about the fact that Ray is like, oh, we were too late, but before they can even discuss this, our voice calls out to them, and as Emma turns around, and we see Dawn and Gilda, and obviously Ayashi is there with them, and Songju and Musica and Hayate. Although there's something that I want to talk about when we get to it, but for now, Dawn and Gilda, and she's like, Dawn, Gilda, and it's like, oh my god, and they're like, Torida's like, oh my god, I can't believe you survived. Oh, you made it to the team, and they probably just have all these thoughts like just cramming around them, one after the other, trying to just get their composure together as they go on to say, so you made it back from that place. I'm so glad. As we see Gilda just hugging Emma, like just how a sister would hug them, and we see Dawn just like grab Ray's like, you made it back, and Ray's just like, oh, I'm so. No, Dawn's like, oh, I'm so glad. And Ray's like, Dawn, I can't breathe. Can you let go of me? Yeah, so that's kind of like the reaction we have. And then we have Emma meeting up with Hayate, and she going, Hayate, so you were travelling along then, right? and Emma is introduced to Ayashi. Although at this point, Ayashi does not actually reveal what was actually going on and what their actual plan was. And I feel like the reason why he's not revealing this is because not only because he's probably being blackmailed, because he doesn't actually say anything, and you can see the sweat drops of his face, like, I really want to tell you something, Emma, but they're not letting me. So I feel like the reason why they're not letting Emma hear all of this is because she needs to concentrate on what's important, and that's getting to Norman, and she just doesn't need any more distractions that could jeopardize her thoughts and her way of thinking. Now, one thing you might have noticed is that Jin is not here, and that's really interesting. And the fact that Jin is not actually there, so I don't know whether they just left him with the Adam clothes, or they just said to him, like, you go back to the base, do not follow us, or something like that. I don't know why that was, but for some reason Jin is not here. But anyway, that's nothing to worry about at this point. We also get Gilda going, and also as she turns to Songju and Musica, and Emma and Ray are just like shocked beyond belief. Like, they actually found them. They actually found them out there, and they're back together for the first time in 2.5 years. I believe it's 2.5 years. Could be a little bit more. Could be getting on to 3 years. The first time that they've actually seen them in 3 years. As Ray is just so ecstatic to see them, and I love it about how just the fact that, yes, even though they're demons, they still view them as true friends that saved their life, and to see them again for the first time in many years, that's just like something that the best present that he could have actually hoped for at this point. And I love the face that he gives, because this is a face that Ray would never have done at the beginning of the series, even if it was for very close friends. And the fact that he's just become so much more open as a character and able to just express himself and not have this emo persona like he had way back in Gracefield House. That's just really beautiful as we see them getting reacquainted, and Emma and Musica stare each other down as she just looks like it gives like a saddened expression, but still pretty blank for people to not know exactly what she's going to do. As Don goes Emma, and we see Emma and Musica stare each other down before they actually go in for a hug, and Musica says, "It'll be okay. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this for us." And again, showing like just that bond in place that I don't think Hattori and Jin even considered, and Norman and Barbara and Cecil and Vincent don't even consider the fact that humans and demons can be friends, despite the fact that they are on opposite sides. They can be friends, and they can have a trust in each other to actually be there for one another. And this moment from Musica and Emma actually proves that point. The fact that yes, demons and humans can actually coexist with each other and can actually be friends, despite the fact that despite the fact of their nature to actually be mortal enemies, they can still find a way of actually communicating and being good friends as well, and possibly and in some cases being even family, as we saw with Ayashi and her father. Despite the fact that he was a demon and he did eat human meat, she still viewed him as her father. And I just love that, and the fact that this can actually put a wrench in Norman's plan makes me feel like that there's going to be a massive competition when Emma and Norman actually do see each other again. As Emma thinks back on her flashback when she was confronting Norman, and Norman was saying, "We will annihilate all the demons, and Sonju and Musica have to die too. The plan is to massacre every single demon in the capital." This gets Emma really emotional, because Musica is still one of her saviors as well as being a really close friend to her, and she just clutches her, and Musica reassures us that she's glad as Emma just clutches her, it's like, "I'm glad you're doing well," as Musica goes, "You too, Emma," and Emma makes a declaration that will stop Norman whatever it takes. Before Don interrupts and says, "But Emma, if you and Ray are here, then that means that you made it," as Emma confirms that she did meet with the demon god and did make a new promise, and that the promise is redone. As we get reactions from just about everyone, we get Musica with excitement, and Songju's just got like this expression like, huh? like as he didn't think it was actually possible for that to actually happen. And again, that makes me worried as well, because we saw when Songju actually feel like he wants to eat human meat again, whether or not that's actually gonna benefit Emma and make her trust him a lot more in the future. That remains to be seen. But for now, it just has this expression like, "What? I didn't realize she could actually do it." And we see just like Dawn and Gilda with excitement on her face, and we just see Emma and Haru just like shot like, okay, calm down. I know you're excited, but we've still got a lot of work to do here. As Emma calms down Dawn and Gilda, she goes on to say, but it's not in effect for now, it's on hold. So again, we don't really know what exactly the Demon King actually promised Emma, but we can assume that it has something to do with Norman. Like, that's probably a given, that Norman has to be stopped or possibly even killed at this point, and Emma's just withholding that information from everyone, because that'll probably lead to even more conflict than we actually know about. And again, I'm still on the theory that Norman is part of the Rattari clan in some way. He has to be in some way, because just for the fact of his manipulative nature, and the fact that we got that chance with Julia's Rattari, and how he backstabbed his comrades to make the world a better place for them as a species. And Norman is pretty much doing the exact same thing now with basically backstabbing Emma and going through with his plan just for benefit humankind without any consideration for one of his closest friends. So yeah, that makes me think, is Norman part of the Rattari clan and they just didn't know at that time? But that's for later, if that actually does come about. And we just get Songju not making any expressions at this point, and he is actually getting me like worried now what is actually gonna go down at this point. Before we get I believe it's Dawn asking this question, going on for him to say, what about Oliver's team? They said they wanted to bring you guys on horseback. Did they go back already? As we get a flashback to Oliver and his team 2 days before in the early morning, as he goes, wait, what's happening over here? What's happening over there? As they look on at just like this army of demons, like just trotting around, possibly on their way to the royal capital as well, as they have flags and everything, and they're just marching like that, just marching along as they're observing this. Nigel goes on to say they're demon soldiers, and a lot of them. And Gillian goes, are they going to the capital too? And Sak says no, they're heading in the opposite direction. As Ray gets the idea of like, oh no, you mean they're searching for our hideouts? So again, this is probably the fact like, okay, they probably got some intel. The demons probably got some intel of the fact that, okay, we know that some humans have been relaying. They probably got some intel from the Rattari clan, like there's some demons hiding out in Demon World in this big sanctuary, and we have to find them before they actually do something to us to ruin our Tafri. So that's probably what's happening. Here, as they go on to just give like a worried look of like the kids and everything, because again, the younger kids, they're just innocent souls in it. They're just innocent souls in this, in the same way that the demon kids are innocent souls in this. They have nothing to do with like the massive bloodshed that's actually happening at this point. But they go on to say to Oliver that that they can be left here as it's close enough, and they can run back to the base. They have to be ready, even if it is just in case, because again, they don't know that at this point. They're just making a speculation at this point that they're actually trying to find the hideout, and they could not actually be looking for the hideout. It could be actually looking for something else. As Ray goes on to say, yeah, you already did enough for us. We can run the rest of the way on foot. As Nigel makes a protest by going on to say, this place is crawling with the demon army. You'll have to make a big detour to reach capital safety. As Emma reassures them that it's okay, thanks to your help, we've already covered most of the way. We can make it. I will assure you, we'll stop Norman and be back in no time. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that simple, Emma, considering all the shit that's going on at this moment in time. Ray goes on to say that the soldiers have a serious problem. This will be only one squad of a larger force, considering the scale. They must be the royal army. Norman probably found a way to get them away from the city. But then, do they know about us? Have they figured out Norman's plan? No, we have no proof of that. However, if an army like this, larger than what we were seeing, finds out where the kids are hiding, it'll be a catastrophic. It will be a catastrophe. It'll be a ca- catastrophe. It'll be a tragedy. I can't. Some words I just can't pronounce without going into a deeper like really having to push it out there. It wouldn't even be compared to the retiree raid, as Emma just flashes back to all the kids and just gets incredibly worried about that. Like, if this is actually the case, then Ray is right, and this would actually lead to a more massacre, and Emma just doesn't want to see any more killing if it can actually be avoided. Of course, sometimes she knows it's necessary to actually kill in order to protect your family, but for now she doesn't want to do any of that, because I don't think she wants that conscience on her life anymore. The fact that she had to kill in a war in order to make it a better place. But again, she's going to have to live with the facts of that. She's actually had to do some killing in the series in order to make it out alive. As Oliver reassures them that they have to leave it to them and they have to go to the royal capital and take care of things, we cut back to the royal capital after finishing the flashback with Emma going, that is why we only arrived right now. We've got to hurry up. And Ray continues going, but it was a good thing in the end. We got to find you. And he says there's one more problem to deal with. As Gilda goes, a note. What's this? As Ray pulls out a note for them to actually read, and she goes on to say, "This is Norman's handwriting." Oh. As he goes on to say, it's the formula to the poison that Norman had them develop. He must be planning to use it on not only the nobles but the whole population of the castle town. His first goal is genocide the entire population of the royal capital. So okay, so he's probably gonna spray all this poison into the water supply of the royal capital in order to make them drink it, and then just wipe them all out there and there without actually having to do any of the direct killing himself. Although, given how intelligent the demons are, I'm pretty sure there might be a way for them to actually overcome that poison, or just be like, somebody actually drinks it and then they're just like, right, we can't drink the water supply at this moment in time. Like, some demons may actually die from drinking the water supply, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually children, demon children actually died, because then that would have give Emma something to back up her claim with Norman of the fact that what you're doing, Norman, is wrong. I mean, look at these kids. They're dead because of you. Remember what happened to Connie? Remember how Connie died? How would Connie feel if you're going around killing children in the same way these demons are going around killing children? Yes, they are demons, but they're still children, and that would probably be an argument Emma would probably make to Norman, the fact that would Connie and the other kids like this, the fact that you're killing children yourself. Now, with Nigel and Oliver and Zach and Gillian, I feel like we might have to brace for them to actually be dying, because if this is actually the case, then there's no way they can fight an army on that scale. That they like they said that as well. So we may be prepared for. That's probably the last time we are actually going to see those characters. Although I could be wrong. We'll just have to wait and see on that front. Ray goes on to say that there's no sign of it yet, but I know him. Everything will already be in place. Again, showing just how observant Ray is of the fact of his siblings, and this has been more apparent since Gracefield House, and since the fire arc, it's become to this insane degree that he can tell when something is wrong with them, or he can tell when this is actually how they would plan things out. As he goes on to say, should anything happen to the sea before we come back, I would like to limit the damage as much as possible. So again, he's thinking in the same way that Norman thought of back at the beginning of the series, whereas before he was just like, we just need to take us three, Don and Gilda, and I feel like throughout the 2 years now that he's been with Emma, and he's seen just what she's capable of, he's sort of been wavered to her side and seen her way of thinking as well. So again, showing like the development of his character in just these sort of little hints that if you've been reading the series ever since the beginning, you would see like the change of pace in his character, and how that's come about, and that's just fantastic in and of itself. But anyway, continuing on. Music. They go on to say, all the more so with music here, it makes the prospect more likely. I think. As Emma goes on to say, but of course, our top priority is your safety. If you can catch if you catch even a hint of danger, run away, please, as Sonju reassures Emma and goes, Emma, go, make your move. And he hands her the device that basically was the tracking device that Hattori and Jin had when they were trying to kill Songju and Musica. And Emma questions this. It's like, what is this? And they go on to say, a communication. We seized it from this fellow and his comrades, as he points to Hayate, and Hayate just has this moment of like, oh, I am so shitting my pants right now. I don't want to die. And I love that about it, like showing like even though he was so confident of the plan going to fruition, the fact that Songju and Musica were able to escape the plan shows that he has probably shows the doubts that he has of Norman and his abilities to actually be the god figure that he is actually presenting himself to be at this point. Songju goes on to say, so infiltrate the castle. Should you be in need of help, use this device to call. I will come to you at once. When you press it, make a noise. When you press it, it makes a noise, and you can tell the location. If as Ray goes on to say, I see. If anything happens, tell us in Morse. And Musica goes on to say, we'll take care of the city. And Songju goes on to say, still, if you face danger, call, as Emma agrees to this and goes, thank you, we'll all be back soon. And Gilda stops her and goes, yes, there's one more thing, Emma, but we don't actually get what Gilda was actually going to say to Emma at this point, and I feel like that's going to come into play later on, maybe next chapter or a few chapters down the line. We just don't know. But Emma stares down the castle, thinks back of Norman, and says, Norman, we're coming. And that's where the chapter ends. So not really much went on in this chapter. It was more a case of just like reuniting with each other, explaining the situation of what happened on their end and what happened on other people's ends, and basically getting like, okay, this is the plan. You go to the castle, you infiltrate, we'll stay out here and basically make sure that there's little damage as possible. But if you ever need help, give us a call, Emma, and we'll come running. And I feel like with Sonju's abilities, I feel like he's the most capable of actually helping out Emma at this point. But it wasn't a bad chapter in the sense. It's just a chapter of just like, okay, we're reuniting, explaining the situation, and formulating our plan of what we're going to do next and what our next plan of attack is, and whether or not the demons are actually going to find the base. That remains to be seen, which we'll probably be seeing in chapter 149, which I believe comes out tomorrow. So hopefully I might be able to get 149 out tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see about that, guys. But anyway, what did you guys think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lashadug signing off. Later, guys!